So you were just telling me that you've only been here a month, so it wasn't too long ago that you were actually out in your regular home, I take it, at home with your family. Can you tell me a little bit about your family and if you have any brothers or sisters?
Well, I mean, I was in placement before I came here, and before that I was in foster care, so I've been away from my family for like 7, 8 years now, so I don't really remember too much about them.
7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
So you were in the child welfare system initially? Yeah. Do you remember anything about how you ended up there or what
I've heard different things, but I've been told that to sum it up, basically my mom couldn't take care of me, so she gave us to our grandparents, who went to the court to see if they could have us, but then they didn't really want us in the first place, and the court put us into foster care.
So do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
2 brothers and 1 sister, so you all at the same time ended up in foster care?
Yeah. Originally the middle 2, no, it was both my brothers were in one foster home, and then it was my sister and I in another, and then they moved us all to the same foster home.
Wow, you were lucky. That doesn't happen a lot. So are you the oldest?
Yeah.
So tell me your ages. How old you are.
Well, like I said, I'm 18. My next brother, he is 15. My sister is 14, and my youngest brother is 12 now. They're making me feel old.
Trust me, not as old as me. Were there certain brothers or your sister that you were closer to, or what was your relationship?
Well, I was close to them, all in a different way. My first brother, I've known him the longest, so I'm close to him that way. I only have 1 sister, so I'm close to her, and then my youngest, I just have to be close to him.
So when was the last time that you saw them?
Like 4 years ago.
A long time.
Yeah.
Do you get any visits? Does anyone come
No.
visit? You get no visits?
No. I mean, I can write letters, but that's about it right now.
Was your dad in the picture at all? Or?
For the first several years of my life, but he kept going in and out. So he was abusive, and he kept going to jail, and my mom couldn't really take care of us because because she was too busy trying to find other people to be my dad. So she was trying her best, but sometimes she couldn't do what she had to.
Do you remember, talk to me a little bit about your dad. Do you remember him at all? Do you remember the abuse?
I remember a little bit. The one that I remember the most didn't happen to me. It happened to my brother. But when I'm not sure if I should call him my oldest brother or what I should call him, but he was 2 and I was 5, and he got out of bed to get a blanket that was on the other side of my room, and we were told to stay in bed, and my dad came in. He told me to get out of the bed. He picked up my brother, threw him on the bed, and twisted his leg and broke it. Yeah.
And did he abuse you too?
Yeah. There was one time when we went upstairs. He came upstairs and he chokeslammed us against the wall and told us that he didn't want us to go upstairs, and he told us to go back down. For a little while, I just decided to stay away from him, but then he said sorry, and I was quick to trust him, but I made a mistake because several years later, he started doing the same things again. And the last time that I saw him, we were driving in a car. He was upset because he couldn't find his girlfriend, and when he finally found her, he just drove all around town, and eventually he was turned a corner about 60 miles per hour and ran into a telephone pole, and it smashed a car, and he said it wasn't safe to drive and that the car might explode if he did, but he drove anyways in it.
Do you remember your mom, trying to intervene at all when you were growing up? Did she try and help you kids?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things she did, like I said, was she tried to find another man to take the place of my dad so that we wouldn't be torn. But she believed in obeying, or the man of the house was the person she had to obey no matter what it was. So she didn't always do the right thing. She was always trying to find new jobs because she never had enough money. Somehow we always managed to have a house, so that's good, and food, but we rarely ever got anything else.
Did your dad work at all?
I don't remember. Actually, there were some times when, I'll get it here in a minute. Yeah, there were some times when my mom couldn't even afford a house, so we had to go live with either my uncle or my grandparents.
So you moved around a lot?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the neighborhoods that you lived in at all? Were they?
Actually, the neighborhoods I lived in were good neighborhoods, but I mean, I didn't know too many people in the neighborhood, but there was really no trouble around, except people from other places came and stole from us sometimes. But.
And what about when you were in those neighborhoods? Were you going to school?
Yeah.
Would you tell me about your school experiences?
Well, since we moved houses a lot, I also moved schools a lot. I think the longest I ever stayed in one school was 2 years, or in elementary school. Then I went into foster care, and I stayed in middle school the whole time. And then high school, I went into placement, and I moved around because I kept messing up in placement.
So did the courts actually remove you from your parents?
Yeah.
So your court said.
Or well, the superior court took away the contact, and then I got in trouble with the law and went to the juvenile court.
What happened that brought you into the juvenile system? You said you got in trouble. What did you
Oh yeah. Is it okay if I don't talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. That's fine. That's fine. When you were in foster care, did you feel like things were starting to get better then? Did you feel like there was
well, for a while, I was okay because I could still have contact with my mom, but the caseworker we had tricked her into putting us up for adoption, and I couldn't have contact with her anymore. And then I started getting really angry and violent and destructive, and they moved me to another foster home where I got in trouble with the law. And then they moved me to my third foster home, and by that time I figured out how I could get contact with my mom, even though no one knew that I was except her, and she thought that I was allowed to. And then eventually my new caseworker found out, and she stopped the contact for a few months later, but I think she decided that if I went that far, that I would go farther, and she decided to give me the contact back.
Why was contacting your mom so important to you?
Well, I've always had a close relationship with my mom, and I missed her a lot, so I wanted to talk to her again.
And do you have any contact with her now?
I can write letters now.
But she can't come visit you?
Not yet. We're working on it, though.
Do you remember a time in your family where, I know it was a long time ago, but where things were good or happy? Or do you have any happy memories of your childhood?
Actually, the best times were when there wasn't a dad. I think it sounds kind of messed up because I don't know too many families who they're happy that there's not two parents in the house. But when it was just my siblings and my mom and I, there wasn't any abuse, and we always seemed to have more money and stuff, and so we could be happier.
Do you know if they were charged with abuse and neglect?
My dad was. I'm not sure about my mom, though. I mean, I've been told that she neglected us, but I don't think she's ever been charged.
So, as far as you can remember, you were in 3 different foster homes?
Yeah, and then I went through 3 different placements.
Okay. How did you react when you were in those foster homes? Tell me about what each foster care placement was like for you. Explain to someone who really kind of knows nothing about foster care what foster care is like.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Foster care is basically a place where you can go to, if your parents aren't going to be there for you, you go into a foster home, and they're basically your new parents, and they take care of you and love you like you're actually their child. In my first foster home, the family was really nice, and they taught me manners, and they taught me a little bit how to be a human being, but I was kind of stubborn then, so I didn't hear some of that. when I went to my second foster home, I was upset because I couldn't see my mom or my siblings anymore, and so anything there made me mad. And yeah, when I got into my third foster home, for a while I thought they were the best foster family, because the house was really nice. They had a lot of money, but they were nice people themselves too. And I'm not really looking back, I'm not sure who I would choose as the best, but it'd definitely either be the first or the last.
And each time you were in those separate foster homes, were you in a different school every time you moved foster families?
With the second foster home, I was in middle school that whole time, and since my foster mom, the place where my foster mom worked was actually a bus stop for the old bus that I was at, I still got to go to the same school. Then when I moved to my last foster home, since I was almost done with 8th grade, they decided to keep me in school, but then I moved to a different district.
So what was school like for you?
In elementary, middle, or high?
Let's go through all three.
Elementary school was probably the best. It was more fun. I got better grades. People didn't pick on me. Everyone was more accepting. When I got to middle school, the work got harder, so my grades dropped. Because my grades dropped and I couldn't see my mom anymore, I started acting up in school, and then people started picking on me and I got in trouble. When I got in high school, my grades started increasing a little bit, and I started acting better, but people still picked on me. And by the time I got to 10th grade, my grades went back up to what they were in elementary school, which was A's and B's. And everyone still picked on me because they thought I was the same. And then I got locked up. I decided to become a true Christian, and ever since then my life has been a lot better.
So what was the last grade that you completed?
11.
11.
So I'm right where I need to be.
What was the school environment itself like? I think you said you got picked on a lot. Did you feel like you were bullied?
I guess you could call it bullying, but I tried not to let it get to me. Even though every once in a while I did get mad, but it came to the point where I didn't let it show, because I knew if I didn't let it show, then it might stop a little more.
What would they bully you about? Do you remember?
Just anything. It could be the way I looked, the way I used to behave, because I was really immature before I became a Christian. Just anything that they...
Was it a public school?
It was public.
And did you have uniforms or anything?
No, we could wear our own clothes.
Did you get into fights at school, or did you...
I did in 6th grade one time, and I felt so bad about the fight that I just stopped fighting. But there had been a lot of other fights around me.
So were you ever, were you truant? Did you
No.
ever, so nothing like that?
No, all the teachers liked me. Really my only problems were with the other kids.
So how many times, were you just arrested one time?
Well, I was arrested 5 times, 2 in foster care. It's all for the same charge, but they arrested me 2 in foster care, trying to determine what's best to do. They originally put me on an anklet, then they decided that wasn't good, so they moved me into placement. There I messed up, so I got locked up again, and the same with the last 2 placements, and then they finally decided to send me here.
Did you ever feel like you had any sort of role model? You moved around so much, and you were in the child welfare system. Was there anybody that was a role model for you?
Not for a while, but after I became a Christian, Jesus became my role model.
There wasn't anybody you could point to in your community, or teacher, or anyone that you really felt like?
There was my 2nd and 3rd grade teacher who was the same person. She was probably one of my best teachers, I'd say. I mean, I didn't know her very much, but she was the only teacher I ever cried when I left the class.
And did they ever, I mean, did you feel like you understood things in school? Or did anybody ever say, oh, you know, maybe you have a learning disability and that's why your grades are dropping, or?
I mean, math has been when it comes to school subjects, math has been the only thing I've struggled with until like 11th grade, because I jumped around so much that I missed so many different school or math topics. But by the time I got to 11th grade, I finally caught up on it. So now my math is to the level it should be. Actually, it's college level, and I'm not even in college yet. So is my reading, but now I'm able to help other people when they need it, and it's kind of fun to help other people, I think.
It is fun, especially when you know you can do it.
Yeah.
Did you generally like school? I mean, I know middle school was rough, but did you like studying and like classes?
Not for a while. I liked kindergarten through 3rd grade. 7th and 8th grade were okay, and then 11th grade when I was in placement was good, but all the other grades I didn't really like.
So you said you've only been here a month, but you've been away from family for a long time.
Yeah.
Have they told you how long you'll be here?
The predicted date is July 12th of 2012.
So less than a year
Yeah.
from now.
It's possible I could get out early, so I'm going to try for that.
And is this the first time you've been in the Department of Correction?
Yeah.
How did you feel when they told you were sentenced here?
I was terrified because I heard so many rumors about it. I heard that there was fights, that I wouldn't be able to eat anything. I'd be told there was a lot of sexual activity going on. It turns out, now that I'm here, the only things you have to worry about are people making fun of you and taking your food, even though they don't usually take your food very often.
And I know you're on C unit, right?
Yeah.
How is that for you there, interacting with the other kids? Because you all have the same issues.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how to describe it. I guess the only word I can use to describe it is different.
Does it make you feel better knowing that there are other kids there who've gone through what you've gone through?
Not really. I mean, I feel bad about what I did, and I wish I could take it back, but I say that's not going to happen because I can't go back in the past, so now the only thing I can do is try to move forward with my life and make up for it the best I can.
Have you ever almost given yourself a break and said, you know, things happened to me, which is why I acted out the way I did?
I did that a lot, but then I start going back and thinking, but I still had the choice to do it, and I try to do the right thing, but I make mistakes, and I want to accept it, but I can't believe I hurt another person like I did, so.
Do you feel like you have a lot of guilt?
I think it's more shame.
Do they work with you on that in counseling, that it's not?
They're trying to.
Has there been a time throughout these past however many years you've now been going through all this, that you actually kind of give yourself credit for getting through all of it?
I don't think I could possibly get through it myself. I decided to accept Jesus into my heart when I was really little, and even though I still didn't really care about him too much, I think all this time he's been helping me get through. So if I'm asked, like what you just said, if I give myself credit, I'm going to say no. I think it's all Jesus helping me get through.
So as we're wrapping up here, what's the plan for when you're released? Do you know where you'll go or what the plan would be?
I have no idea.
Because there's really no family out there, right?
Yeah, I'll probably move into some independent living place where they'll help me learn how to be on my own. But that's just a guess. I don't know what's going to happen.
Family's not an option.
No.
started to touch on it as it related to therapy. And one of the things I was going to ask you about was sort of, and you can direct it at her so the camera can see it, but sort of the ideas of the kinds of things they talk about in therapy, and trying to get at sort of choice theory and some of the behavioralism and that kind of thing.
Can you tell me, I know that the counseling here is extensive with kids in the C unit. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of counseling and therapy that you receive?
Well, we talk a lot about emotions, how to watch ourselves around other people, our social skills. I asked my counselor if I could help her make a Jeopardy game for the group, and we're gonna do that today. So, but we talk about how to prevent doing or making the same mistake again. Some people have made it several times, so I would say twice, but we talk about a little bit about guilt and shame. We talk about what it means to be a person, how to live a life without getting in trouble.
Do they talk about various warning signs or to know?
Well, we haven't done it since I've been here yet, but I think we probably will.
That's right, you've only been here a month, so you still have the whole program to go through.
Yeah.
Do you find it's working?
It seems to be helpful. I mean, I think it's definitely letting me see that I make more choices than I thought I did, and that's where it gets hard, because when you're faced with two choices you don't want to do, you really don't know what to choose. But it's teaching me that sometimes I don't have an option and I just have to choose to do things.
Do you ever feel that the abuse that you suffered through when you were little at home led to you doing what you did?
I think it was definitely an influence, but like I said, a lot of it was my choice.
Labeling theory, thinking about sort of the, under the chapter 5, the second question, you touched on it with being a troublemaker, but sort of the way that people perceive. You mentioned when you were on the floor that, you know, some of the things that people making fun of you, and so we can tease out a little bit of the perceptions of how he's seen now by others, not just in the unit, but in general.
Do you have thoughts at all about how others might view you, both here and out in your community, or maybe former classmates, any sort of labeling?
Well, a lot of people say I'm polite and respectful, and I'm probably one of the best kids they've ever seen, but there's a lot of my peers who still say I'm immature. Not quite as much anymore, but they say I'm immature, I'm weird, in a good way, but I'm not even sure. Some of them don't know what to think about me.
Do you, aside from here where obviously everybody knows what happened, does anybody, any of your old friends or people in your old school or community know what happened and what?
When I was, no one knows, but I really didn't have any friends in the first place before I came here. I mean, I had a couple, but they were in placement, so they knew because we were in the same program.
So you really didn't have many friends growing up?
I mean, I had one, but he always said if I didn't do something, he wouldn't be my friend anymore. And I was told, or someone told me that he wasn't a true friend, so I don't know if it was or not.
Was he trying to get you, I mean, didn't do something like something bad?
No, not usually. It was just like little things. I mean, I don't remember what, because it was too long ago.
So really, the only friends you've been able to make are friends that you've met here and there in different placements, or foster care?
Yeah, and Jesus too.
Do any of the kids here label you, or how are you treated here?
Well, a lot of them see that I'm not really assertive and that I struggle with confidence, and they know that people will take advantage of me, and it's really weird because this is a jail, but most of them actually try to help me, and I never thought that was going to happen in a jail, but it makes it better because everyone is supportive.
We find that there are a lot of rumors before kids come here. They hear all sorts of stories.
And then when I come here, it's not half that bad.